They thought a clipboard and a fake badge could scare me. They thought intimidation would break me. But what they didn't know was that I wasn't just another homeowner. They had picked a fight with the chief of police. And when the HOA decided to cross the line into fraud and impersonation, they weren't just playing HOA politics anymore. They were walking straight into felony territory on my property. It started like most HOA nightmares do, with paperwork. Nancy Grant, the president of our HOA, strutted around the neighborhood like she was running a federal agency. She loved waving her clipboard in people's faces, citing violations that didn't even exist. To her, the HOA wasn't just a board of neighbors, it was her personal kingdom, and she ruled it with threats, fines, and intimidation. I had been on her radar for months. Why? Because I owned a truck. That's right, my fully registered, legally parked truck in my own driveway had somehow become her personal vendetta. One hot afternoon, she showed up at my front porch, her lipstick smudged and her eyes burning with faux authority. "Chief or not, you can't just break HOA parking rules," she snapped, slapping a letter against my chest. "If you don't move that truck, I'll find you every single day it sits there." I glanced at the letter, a bunch of legal-sounding words printed in bold with HOA letterhead. Looked official, but I had already done my homework. According to State Vehicle Code 22507.2, HOAs have no authority over municipal parking laws. My truck was perfectly legal. So I smiled. "Nancy, you might want to double-check the law before you threaten me." That smile must have gotten under her skin because things escalated fast. 2 days later, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find two men in polo shirts with cheap badges clipped to their belts, their chest puffed out, their voices firm like they were auditioning for a cop drama. "Sir, we're here on behalf of the HOA Compliance Division. You're in violation of multiple ordinances. If you don't cooperate, we'll have to place you under arrest." Arrest. That word alone told me everything I needed to know. HOAs don't arrest people. Only sworn officers under State Penal Code 830.1 have that authority. But I didn't show my hand. Instead, I let them talk, let them dig themselves deeper, all while my body cam, clipped discreetly to my shirt, recorded every word. "Arrest me?" I repeated slowly, raising my eyebrows. "On what charge?" "Non-compliance with HOA code," the second man said, flashing his dollar store badge. Inside, I almost laughed. Outwardly, I nodded, as if taking them seriously. "Can you repeat that, just so I'm clear?" They puffed up even more, repeating their nonsense about HOA codes and enforcement powers. Every lie they spoke was another nail in their coffin. I knew exactly what they were doing, impersonating peace officers. And under Title 18, U.S. Code 912, that's a federal crime. I let them walk away that day, but not without one thought burning in my head. If they came back, they wouldn't walk away at all. The very next afternoon, I heard the rumble of an engine outside. A white SUV with amber lights flashing rolled right up into my driveway. My jaw tightened. This wasn't over. Out stepped the same two men, only this time they weren't just puffing their chests. They were holding zip ties like they were about to make an actual arrest. One barked, "Sir, under HOA authority, you are under arrest. Step aside or we'll have to use force." My blood boiled, but my face stayed calm. "Arrest? Huh," I said, stepping down from my porch, hands raised casually. As soon as the first man reached for me, my training kicked in. I grabbed his wrist, twisted, and in one swift motion, dropped him to the ground. His knee buckled with a crack and he screamed in pain. The second lunged forward, swinging his zip ties like a weapon. I step-side, hooked his ankle, and sent him face first into the pavement. His knee slammed hard, dislocating instantly. Both were rising on the ground, groaning, clutching their legs. The tough guy act had vanished. I crouched beside them, pulled out my real badge, and held it inches from their faces. You just impersonated peace officers, trespassed, and attempted unlawful detention. Do you know what that means?" Their faces went pale. "It means," I continued, voice low and steady, "you're both going to prison." I pulled out my radio. "Dispatch, this is Chief Daniels. I've got 2 suspects on my property impersonating law enforcement, attempting an unlawful arrest. Send units immediately." Within minutes, squad cars rolled into the neighborhood. Sirens wailed, lights lit up the street, and neighbors peeked out their windows, murmuring nervously. When my officers saw the scene, 2 grown men crawling on the pavement with fake badges and zip ties, they didn't waste a second. Guns drawn, they secured the suspects, read them their rights, and hauled them to the back of the squad car. Nancy's little power game had just turned into a full-blown criminal case. At the station, the men cracked almost immediately. One spilled the truth. Nancy Grant had promised them cash if they taught me a lesson. That was all I needed. We brought Nancy in. She sat across from me in the interrogation room, arms crossed, trying to look unfazed. "This is all a misunderstanding," she said with a smirk. "I was only protecting the community." I slid a folder across the table. Inside, statements from her hired goons, their fake badges, my body cam footage, and my home security video. Her smirk faded. "This isn't a misunderstanding," I said quietly, leaning forward. "This is a conspiracy, and you're finished." Her lawyer tried to spin it, but the evidence was ironclad. By the end of the day, Nancy was booked for conspiracy, impersonation, and unlawful detention. Felonies, all of them. Word spread fast. The next HOA meeting was the most crowded in neighborhood history. Homeowners who once cowered under Nancy's threats stood up one by one, demanding her immediate removal. The vote was unanimous. Nancy was stripped of her presidency, banned from holding HOA office ever again, and slapped with crushing fines for legal costs. The 2 imposters, they limped their way to prison sentences, their knees permanently damaged from their own arrogance. That night, I sat on my porch with a cup of coffee. Squad cars still idled down the street, officers exchanging reports. The air felt different, lighter. For months, Nancy had ruled with fear, but now justice had been served. The neighborhood was free. And me? I wasn't just their neighbor anymore. I was their chief of police, the one person Nancy never should have crossed. Because when you send fake officers to arrest me, you don't just lose your power, you lose everything.